Action, take one.
Yeah. Hello YouTube, just a bit of fun there for you. You can see a whole string of cameras laid in front of me here. We've got the HX9v, Sony, HX5v, HX9v, HX30v, and the HX50. No V on this one. All that means is there's no GPS. These have GPS. So I'm going to show you each of them in detail. I will tell you what they do. I'll show you close-ups of the controls so you can see them. You can see the size variation. This is a few years old, and then we go through each of the models. I'm going to show you sample video from each of these, and what I'll do is actually take the same video shot from all of them at the same time. You might be able to hear some background noise, but anyway, I'll try to clean up the volume on the audio as best I can when I process these videos. So you will see still images and video from each of these, and I'll put them side by side as I normally do so that you can see the difference. I won't tell you which video is which until the end, but what we're going to do now is have a look at these in detail with close-ups so you can see the actual mechanisms and settings and so on. Oh, and there's one other just hidden down here. This is the Sony Wx300. This is the one that I'm doing as a giveaway. So if you haven't seen the contest for that yet, just have a look over here, click here, and that will take you to the video with entry details. Depending on when you view this video, this might already have been won by one lucky viewer, but you can get the details over here. As I say, somebody's going to win this. Great stills camera, good zoom, very small and pocketable. I'll show you this as well, and we'll compare it against the HX range. The HX is theoretically the higher quality. The Wx is more of the consumer level. So we're going to have a look at all 5 of these cameras, but we will focus mainly on the HX range to compare them with each other. So what I'm going to do is switch now to the close-ups of each camera, and then we'll move on to the simultaneous video taken from all 4 cameras, maybe even 5 cameras, all at the same time. So let me switch there now. So here's a bit of a close-up, as you can see. So we have the HX5v, the 9v, 30v, and then the 50. So what I'm going to do first of all is show you all the close-up details of the HX5v. So here we just have the front view, as you can see, fairly obvious. But next what we got is the top plate. You can see the on-off button, the wide and telephoto zoom, and on the right-hand side you have the mode dial with various modes. As you can see, there's an easy mode, a scene mode, intelligent panorama, anti-vibration, night mode, manual, program, and intelligent auto. In the middle, you can see there's a burst, continuous shooting button, and to the left you can see the stereo left and right microphones. This is the back. There's a big movie button, positioned fairly well, I think. The playback button beneath it, and then the multi-use dial underneath. It's very difficult to read the actual legends on that particular dial because they're not coloured, they're just indented. So you have a display at the top, the flash icon to the right, self-timer to the left, self-timer to the bottom, I beg your pardon, and then I forget what's on the left, and then menu button and image delete to the right. This is the base plate, nothing much to say about it. Charger at the bottom, and to the right the tripod bush. What I'm going to do now is show you the close-up details of the HX9v. So this is the HX9v, again front view, as you can see, looks pretty good. Top plate, the position of the microphones has changed, it's now very central, so you do have to be careful how you hold this. The flash is to the left hand side where it says HD. On the right hand side you can see that we have a little bit more by way of mode icons. We have an intelligent auto and a superior intelligent auto, which is the gold coloured one. And we also have a custom button which you can set to change things such as the exposure compensation very easily and quickly. On the back now you can see that the movie button is up in the very top right corner. There is a big rest for your thumb, which helps, and then we have white lettering to tell you what each of the options are around the main dial, so that's easier to use. On the base plate you can see the battery compartment cover and where the SD slot goes. There's a USB connector to the bottom, and then a fairly central tripod bush. And here on the right is where you put your mini HDMI connector for output. What I'm going to do now is show you the close-up details of the HX30v. This is the front view of the 30v, which is quite similar to the 9v. I think it looks a little bit nicer personally. It's slightly modern design. There's a nice chunky grip to the right, as you can see. Front view again doesn't look tremendously different. Still have stereo mics centrally mounted. The custom button position has moved slightly. On the back you can see that the thumb rest is slightly differently shaped now. I'm not sure why. I think the other one was better personally. And we have the same type of lettering around the main control wheel, although that's changed a little bit. The base plate looks very similar. Centrally mounted tripod bush and a USB connector at the side. And then again, the HDMI output is on the right hand side under a little flap. What I'm going to do now is show you the close-up details of the latest one, the HX50. Now the HX50, this looks to me very much like a Canon styling. I think it looks great. It's bigger than the others. It definitely looks professional. On the top we have, in the middle we have what they call the Magic Hot Shoe. This actually multi-use hot shoe, so you can put in things like a special microphone and so on. You can also get an adapter to use other traditional hot shoe accessories. We have on the far right an exposure compensation dial. It's a physical dial now. Instead of using menu settings, use a dial. I quite like that. It's quite firm to use, and that means you're not likely to knock it by accident. And then we have a little bit more by way of choices on the mode dial, which is now moved slightly to the left. We have the addition of shutter and aperture speed priority now. The back looks very similar to all the others. The movie button is so close to the thumb rest though that it's so easy to knock it. You will, well I do, you will be starting recordings and stopping them without realizing. On the left, near the top, is a flash release button, and although I haven't shown you in this video, the flash looks like something out of a science fiction film. On the bottom on this model we have an HDMI output instead of the USB, and on the right is the multi-use USB for charging and for connecting to your camera. What I'm going to do now is show you close-up details of the Wx300. So this is the Wx300. Nice looking camera, as you can see. Top plate very small, very clean. Stereo microphone centrally mounted, as we're used to seeing now with the Sonys. Everything else in the position you would expect it. On the back, nothing looks different. Because it's a smaller camera, there's no thumb rest, but you just have to be a little bit careful. It's quite small. I have smallish hands, and even I find the camera a little bit on the small side, but it's very pocketable. And then on the base plate, we have HDMI output on this one, as well as the very central tripod bush in this case. And then finally, on the right-hand side, but with the flap opening the other way on this model, we have the multi-use USB connector, which is used for charging and also for connecting to the camera. So I've got a slightly different review for you today. I'm going to unbox an audio interface. I've had to replace a FireWire interface that I had on an old computer to a USB audio interface for a new computer I've got, because it doesn't have FireWire, and it runs Windows 8, which apparently Windows 8 has a problem with FireWire. Apple and Windows, I'm told, are not going to use FireWire in the future, so I've had to change this. I'll do an unboxing and review, but an interesting thing is that I'm filming this 4 different times simultaneously with 4 Sony cameras. So you will see on a separate video, which you'll be able to access by clicking here, the review of the Sony HX5v, the 9v, the 30v and the 50. And what I will do is show you a comparison with the footage from all of them. So let me get into the unboxing now. What I've got is a Scarlett 2-in-2 or 2i2 they call it. This is a USB audio interface. It has, I apologise about the noise, it has 2 microphone combi jack inputs. I'll show you close-ups as usual. And this is what the back's like. So I'll show you close-ups of these items in a moment. This is a fairly well-known name, Focusrite, pretty good. It comes with some software, which is there's a plug-in suite, which is used for adding into digital audio workstations, audio software basically, so that you can change various settings. And I think there's a control, a software control for the actual audio interface itself. So let's have a look what we get in the box. And I will switch later to doing the continuation of this review at the actual computer. We get the USB cable, that's cool. So it's all complete. Getting started guide, and I guess, yeah, there's a disc in there as well for the software, which is great. So this is the actual unit itself. Very light, no power supply required. This is USB bus powered. Very cool, extremely well packed. Let me see if I can get into this. Anybody who watches the channel regularly will know that these things usually fool me for a while. It takes me a while to get into things, but that's not too bad today. Silica gel packet to keep it dry, fantastic. So here's the Scarlett 2i2 or 2 in 2. We have two inputs, it's a combi jack they call it. So XLR and I think 1/8 inch jack from like a microphone or a guitar and so on. At the back we have a Kensington lock slot, we have the USB, and then these are the outputs, which are line level outputs, I believe. Yep, they are. So fairly simple device. It has what you would call an anodized finish, quite nice. I'm going to show you close-ups, of course. Although it feels slightly rough to the touch, but I don't think that makes a big difference. Probably picks up fingerprints like nobody's business. And an interesting thing about the front panel is that they have a lighting ring around the sensitivity switch, the gain switch here, which they call the halo lighting effect, which changes colour according to the input signal strength, so that if you get too high a signal where clipping may occur, this will turn amber then red. If it's on green, it's good. I'll show you close-up of that when I actually connect this to a computer, and then you'll be able to hear the sound from this, because I'll hook this up to one of my good microphones, and you can compare between the audio on the camera and the Tascam DR-07 Mark II. It does have phantom power, line and instrument level switches, so that's cool, and then an output or monitor switch volume control. So fairly simple in reality. I have used Focusrite before. The Firewire one I had was Focusrite. The preamps on these I've found to be very good. I don't know this particular model. This is about the nearest equivalent I could find to the one I had previously. So I'm expecting it to use the same circuitry inside, which will give a good clean signal. I'll actually show you my recording audio in Adobe Audition, so you can see the signal strength and so on. Yeah, but very nice, neat unit. Doesn't need power, which is great, because it's one less thing to plug in. USB 2, I don't know if anybody does a USB 3 one yet, but USB 2 is plenty fast enough for this kind of device. So let's switch to the home studio, as it were. Home studio, yeah. It's a computer on a desk. I'll install this, I'll install the software, and I'll continue the review from there. See you in a moment.